No, no, go not to Lethe, neither twist wolf's bane tight-rooted for its poisonous wine, nor suffer thy pale forehead to be kissed by nightshade, ruby grape of Proserpine. Make not your rosary of yew-berries, nor let the beetle nor the death moth be your mournful Psyche, nor the downy owl a partner in your sorrow's mysteries. For shade to shade will come too drowsily, and drown the wakeful anguish of the soul. But when the melancholy fit shall fall, sudden from heaven like a weeping cloud that fosters the droop-headed flowers all and hides the green hill in an April shroud, then glut thy sorrow on a morning rose, or on the rainbow of the salt sand wave, or the wealth of the globed peonies. And if thy mistress some rich anger shows, imprison her sultan, and let her rave, and feed deep, deep upon her peerless eye. She dwells with beauty, beauty that must die, and joy whose hand is ever at his lips bidding adieu, and aching pleasure nigh, turning to poison where the bee-mouth sips. Aye, in the very temple of delight, veiled melancholy has her sovereign shrine, though seen of none save him whose strenuous tongue can burst joy's grape against his palate fine. His soul shall taste the sadness of her might, and be among her cloudy trophies hung. That is Keats's great ode on melancholy, a central poem of Keats's. In this poem, Keats expresses a leading idea of the Romantic period that we've been studying, and that is that melancholy, far from a negative state, is actually positive. Melancholy fosters reflection and fosters creativity. In this regard, Keats is hearkening back to a Renaissance tradition that really began with Marsilio Ficino, the Florentine philosopher, right at the beginning of the Italian Renaissance, and an idea that flourished in England in the 17th century with Robert Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy, with the play Hamlet, where we see Hamlet as a hero of consciousness. We see Hamlet's melancholia, his grief, his mourning actually heightening his intellect, heightening his linguistic virtuosity. Well, what does Keats say in this particular ode on melancholy? In the first stanza, he seems to be mocking traditional ways that people perform melancholy, going to graveyards, hanging out around yew trees, invoking owls. This, the poem suggests, is not real melancholy. It's a kind of performed melancholy, a kind of fake melancholy. It would be like someone in our culture trying to dress up like a grunge rocker, or someone striking the pose of an emo rocker, as opposed to actual melancholy, which is what Keats calls the wakeful anguish of the soul. And he says that performing melancholy, falling into the cliches of traditional melancholy, moping around in a predictable cliche fashion, this actually drowns the wakeful anguish of actual melancholy. And what is actual melancholy? Well, notice, it's not some malaise that leads to lethargy. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a fit. When the melancholy fit shall fall. It's as if we are suddenly energized by melancholy. Why? Well, look at the imagery. It's a fit that strikes us. And it's when the melancholy fit shall fall, sudden from heaven like a weeping cloud. Okay, a cloud suggests gloom, but what does the cloud do? It fosters the flowers. The flowers are droop-headed, but it makes them grow. So there's a duplicity here to melancholy. It seems to be on the side of life and death, growth and decay at the same time. And that's exactly the kind of dynamic that is expressed further in the second stanza. When you feel the melancholy fit, what should you do? Should you lie around and mope? Should you complain? Should you sigh? No. You glut thy sorrow in a morning rose, or the rainbow of the salt sand wave, or the wealth of globed peony. In other words, when you feel melancholy, what is it ultimately about? It should ultimately be about transience. I'm sad that the roses die. I'm sad that the rainbow fades. I'm sad that peonies stay above the earth a very short time. And being sad about that, what do? I try to experience them all the more intensely. So, melancholy is a very elegiac sense that everything's passing, everything's dying, that's sad. But the sadness spurs us to try to live a sensuous existence all the more intensely. And the final stanza really pushes this relationship among life, death, and beauty in a very lovely way. Melancholy dwells with beauty. Where does beauty come from? Death, beauty that must die, whose hand is ever at his lips bidding you. The minute you see something beautiful, you know, oh my gosh, that is fleeting. But that fleetingness makes the thing more beautiful. If I had a real rose in one hand, a porcelain rose in another, you would say that the real rose is more beautiful precisely because it is fleeting. It is beautiful because it will die. And what do you want to do? You want to experience it more intensely. And if you're a poet, like Keats, you want to write about it more energetically, more vividly. So there's a sense in the final stanza that melancholy is the true muse of the poet who sacrifices his life, sacrifices his well-being, his happiness, his contentment. In worshiping her, he will be among her cloudy trophies hung. He is sacrificing himself to her. But what does she give him in return? She gives him this unbridled delight, this ecstasy, as well as this impetus to say to the beautiful object, stop. And how does one do that? Well, through writing about it in a poem or painting it in our day, taking a photograph of it. So, Ode on Melancholy for Keats is actually an ode to joy.